Hi, my name is MAKASY and welcome back to another video with regard to the Balenciaga Triple S. A quick recap, these shoes were a dream of 2017 MAKASY. It feels incredible to realize that forgotten dream that was brought back to me when I got the Geo basket. So now I am looking to dig up more dreams in the past that I had. Before we talk detail, I would like to hit on a few points about Demna, about Balenciaga, his design process, inspiration, and the history of the shoe themselves. First, Demna is a big fan of Marcel Duchamp. Duchamp was an artist in the early 1900s, and he was known for simply taking ordinary objects and putting them in a museum and calling them art. He was questioning why some items are art, some are not, and his most famous work, which you probably know, is the urinal titled Fountain. With regard to the Triple S, Demna has said, Triple S was supposed to be a chunky sneaker. Many executives within Balenciaga were initially skeptical of the offbeat style, with its layer cake of rubber soles, patches of colors, and grubby aspect. It was absolutely a proportional exercise of footwear and not any kind of gimmicky play with what was ugly or not ugly in shoe design. I'm not part of this ugly fashion. I never liked ugly stuff, really. I hate to see small feet visually. A lot of guys don't like to have small feet. To me, a larger footwear are more stable and more masculine. Also, I believe when you create a new silhouette, the product will succeed. If you are not familiar with the work of Demna, he loves his oversized product. You can see it in his work at Vetements, at Balenciaga. Mostly on the men's side. With women, they are more form-fitting, but with regard to men's stuff, it's always oversized. This is mainly because of his environment where he grew up, which was Soviet-era Georgia. And, his family was poor. The country itself was poor. So he had a lot of hand-me-down products, which were from his family who were 5, 6 years older than him. So oversized garments are all that he's known his entire life, and he has translated that. He's telling his life story to the current audience, and I relate to that heavily because I grew up in Cambodia. I had a lot of hand-me-down. So I also wanted to find who was the actual designer, because at a fashion house as big as Balenciaga, we have to remember Demna is a creative director. Although he knows how to cut and all that, there are countless designers in there that will bring his vision to life. And the guy who brought the Triple S to life was a guy named David Tonia Bessel. I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong. My apology, David. So David has worked for the likes of Margiela, Givenchy, and Balenciaga. And according to David himself, the S stands for the sole, which we know, and the reference for the soles are running shoes, basketball, and track shoes. So David and Demna met when Demna was at Margiela as an assistant, and David was a freelancer. They hit it off right away. They became friends. And then when Demna got the job at Balenciaga, called David up. And then their first shoe together was the Speed Runner, which was a big, big hit. And then Demna told him, I would like something chunky. Thus, the birth of the Balenciaga Triple S. I would like to start off this review on a negative note because that's what this channel is. So I hate the tongue. It's too short. I hate short tongues on sneaker because I am a very lazy individual. I hate leaning down, bending down, stretching the footwear to put them on. And when you try to put on these shoes, if you're not holding the pull tab on the tongue and the back tab, the tongue will go underneath, and then you have to find it and stretch it back out. So let's say on a busy day, I'm busy, I'm running downstairs, I see all these beautiful footwear. I'm not gonna grab the Balenciaga Triple S because it's so much harder to put on than my Geo basket, than my Crocs, than my boots. The Triple S would not be picked. And the pull tab is also just this flimsy cotton or polyester, whatever it is, and it often disappears into the tongue itself. So I have to search for it before I get to put my finger in there. And it's also hard to put it in there because the hole is rather small. So there are a number of problems that goes into how hard it is to put on the sneakers, and this is one of them. Okay, so that's the only negative about the tongue. Let's talk positive now. So super, super soft because it's just mesh, polyester filling, or foam in between, whatever the material is. With my Geo basket, the tongue is leather, so you feel its presence a bit more. It's a bit more structured, it's thicker. I feel as though this is more prone to cuts and hole developing over time with wear because of the material. Leather is a bit more durable. I see why they use the mixture of polyester and polyurethane, but I would have loved some leather exterior for durability's sake. Embroidered size on the toe cap. This detail is so minute in the grand scheme of everything, but it's so innovative to me. Demna is one of the few designers who value changing your perception of what something is. We can talk about his takes or appropriation, which he doesn't like the word, but with his appropriation of like the everyday uniform with the German Polizia, with the DHL, with everyday references, every mundane company logo, activities, and he put them on the runway. It's very, Duchamp of him. It's very subversive to me that he put the size on the toe cap. Like, think about Rick Owens. I know I bring him up all the time, but he's my favorite designer of all time. So Rick Owens, his subversive take on zipper is very innovative, but not a lot of people will notice it. So the conventional belief is to hide the zipper. Rick is like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna expose the zipper. I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna make sure you see it. So the Bala zipper, it's beautiful. I love it. 99% of the time, the size tag is on the inside. It's very small. They always trying to hide it. And then Demna is like, you know what? I'm going to put it on the outside of the sneaker. I'm going to let you see it. I'm going to embroider it so then you will notice it. And now we're going to put on the toe cap. If you can't tell, I love it. I thought the magic would die after one day of seeing it, but it hasn't. It's been 2-3 weeks now. And every time I look down, every time I see it at size 43, I'm continuously amazed by it. It just, thank you, David, thank you, Demna. It's beautiful. The next thing that is embroidered is the logo on the side. I stated earlier that I see embroidery as a gesture of care from the designer. He could have easily printed it like the speedrunner. He chose to embroider it. That just showed me that they care a little bit more. You don't really see it from this point of view, but it's a good detail for when you're not wearing the shoe. The first step of buying any sneaker is viewing it from the side. I am a very, very big fan of this logo. I don't think it's too much. I think it's just about right, if you know what I mean. Okay, let me explain. It's very much like R&B. It's sitting as far back as possible on the beat without being late. Cool logo. Sometimes it's nice to see small logos on a pair of sneakers. An example of really, really bad take on the chunky sneakers, the trend anyway back in 2017. The Gucci sneaker with their ugly logo. It was a really, really bad take on the trend. I haven't forgiven Gucci for that yet. I would like to show you this POV right now. I think it's interesting. And with sneakers, if you were to buy these sneakers, this is what you will see when you wear them. It's quite overwhelming when you look at it from this point of view. It's so big. But when you're not looking, they don't feel that big. Think bleeding, If you're bleeding and you don't know about it, you don't feel it. But then when you see there's a cut and you see blood, your brain just like, oh shit, you're bleeding. It hurts. Okay, feel some pain. And some sneakers, they don't look good from this point of view. A good example would be the New Balance 995 or 990. They look great from the side, but not from the top view. It's a very ugly sneakers to me. Okay, back to the Triple S. These look great. I love it. The laces, the many different shapes, the sizing, the embroidery, the color, everything works really well in a cohesive manner. Okay, toe cap. I have a love-hate relationship with the mesh or polyester soft toe cap. They're comfortable, don't get me wrong, they're very comfortable, but when you walk, your feet are constantly trying to get out because the material is so soft and so flaccid. I'm gonna assume you all have owned running sneaker or do own running sneakers. You know what I'm talking about. When you wear boots, the material is so stiff and thick, your feet, if you try to bend your toe upward, it won't go up because the material is so thick. But on these sneakers, they're so soft. So when you do walk, when you take a step forward, your toes are like coming up, trying to get out, which is a bit uncomfortable to me. My feet, they're very sensitive. I have flat feet, wide feet, and I also they're very sensitive, so I sense everything that's happening. Embossed logo in the back. This is another logo for when you're not wearing it. Actually, no, okay, I take that back. You do notice it when you sit like this. You do see it. And I'm going to go off the rail a little bit. So I have this belief about the placement of logo or print or design. So if a product, if a brand is putting the design, the logo, the whatever it is, if they put it on the back, that design, that print is more so for the people around you. But if they put the design or logo on the front, that's more for the wearer. And my opinion is that it should be on the front because it's for me. I'm wearing the clothes for me. I'm not wearing for people around me to see the design on the back. I want to see the design. That's why I purchased it. So I don't like to own any product that have the design on the back. I think the choice of logo here was probably from one of the executives at Balenciaga, because I like to say it's common sense to say that most people who are buying Balenciaga are these rich people or wannabe rich people that just want to show off. So when you put these small logo, it's like a subtle flex to let people around you know that, hey, I'm wearing Balenciaga. So there's two logo here, one on the back, one on the side. The back, rarely see it, but it's there to just flex a little bit, excuse me. This is also why every brand has a t-shirt with a screen printed logo. It's a big cash cow for them. They can either reinvest the money from that cash cow into the brand or pay it out to the shareholders and investors or the executives. Big logo on the outsole. I love the logo on the bottom. I love them so much. They're big, they're in your face, they're brash, but there's also a practical element to it. Most boots, they come with this type of branding on the bottom. However, with these sneakers, the Balenciaga logo, it's so big, and the engraving or the depth of it or the height of the logo, it's so tall that it also acts as a form of traction. Triple S branding on the tongue is a very throwback to the 80s, 90s. They were probably looking towards New Balance and Fubu, whatever other brand that was popular in the 80s and 90s. It's that techno vibe, colorful, romanticized version of the 80s and 90s. Back pull on tap and tongue pull on tap. I hit on the tongue a little bit earlier, but let's talk about that and the back pull tap together. They're very short, they're flimsy, hard to find, small, borderline unusable if they were to be 1 inch shorter or a few centimeters shorter. You can barely put your finger in there when you do find them, and it's hard to find them from the beginning. A good example of an amazing pull tap is my Guidi. They're long, they're thick, they're stiff, so it's very easy to pull because it should be long. It should be a design feature, and you know, David and Demna, they did so well on these sneakers, but they really miss on the pull tab and the tongue pull tab. I wish it to be bigger, more pronounced, or just use leather, you know, so it's easy to find. Two lacing system. One of them is called the athletic lacing system that has the 12 eyelets, these one, and then there's the outside ones that have 8, I believe. I mean, you can judge for yourself aesthetically. I am personally not a fan. I like the original look better. And functionally, they're not that good either, because with the exterior lacing system, they have to pull so much fabric towards the middle that it's hard. So it doesn't tighten as well. So although they give you options, realistically you only get one. I am a big fan of the loop lacing system because it's new. It's not like the prototypical lacing system. Another thing I love is that the laces themselves, they're 3D, they're not 2D. So you get this circular thing. It looks really good. It looks different. It looks different enough from the prototypical lacing system that it feels new. And I am always impressed by new silhouette, by new shapes. Adding collared on the interior. I am not a big fan of the hollowness that I'm sure you're watching right now on the B-roll. I will give this to them. It's very soft and it's substantial. There's a lot of padding, so it's very comfortable. However, I can sense the hollowness, and in my previous video, I compared to the Birkenstock footbed. But with the footbed, it's a top to bottom type of ordeal, whereas on these, it's a left to right, and your feet, when you slide it back, I would much rather prefer full cushion so my feet will separate the space for itself. I don't like that it's pre-molded. I will talk about the material sooner, but I want to tell you something first. I understand the use of polyester and polyurethane, but this material is very prone to getting fucked up. I'd much rather prefer a leather exterior just to protect it. When there's a cut and there's a hole in it, it's unwearable. It's just, you can't do it anymore. It's so uncomfortable. Another flaw with the collar padding, it is not structured at all. It's not doable when you want to insert your feet into the sneaker without using your hands. Add on the flaw of the small pull tab, having to tighten the laces for a comfortable wear. You really have to bend down and put in effort when you want to wear these sneakers. You have to spread it apart and put your feet in there. It's a lot of effort. And putting on a pair of sneakers shouldn't be that complicated. Rick Owens solved the high top thing. He adds zippers to the side. That's very innovative. So I just wish the back collar was to be more structured. So then when you slide your feet in, it doesn't bend down with the feet. And yes, I understand I'm making mountain out of molehills here, but you have to remember, we paid premium prices for these sneakers. We have to hold them accountable. If these were to be like Nike or Adidas where we bought them for $100, I would cut them some slack. But we are paying premium prices, so we should demand premium quality, premium design, and premium quality control. Just add leather exterior to protect it. That's all I'm asking, because when the hole does happen, I will have to throw these sneakers away, or I will have to take it to the cobbler. I don't even know if they can do it. There is a hint of leather on the interior, but everything else is poly/poly blend, so you barely notice the leather, but it's also nice that it's there. I'm very happy to see that the leather is there, and I'm also very happy to see that the bottom is actually stitched down to the sneakers. I'm glad it's not just glued in. Most sneakers, most Adidas, Nikes, they use glue. I mean, obviously I would have preferred nails like on my Greedy boots and Kiss boots, but I don't think you can put nails in polyester. So the next best thing you can do is stitch these up so they will last a lot longer than glued. Okay, the 3 outsoles, they're very comfortable. I am gonna talk about it a lot in my what wearing it is like segment, so I'm just gonna say this real quick. The sole, they are so soft, they are so comfortable. I have worn these for a couple weeks now. Not once have I felt any pain. The sole, they're so cushioned, they're so soft. I believe one of them has air bubble because according to Balenciaga, these are 3 complex outsole. There's the clear sole technology, TPU injected inside the sole, creating air bubble for more comfort, and a lighter shoes and a shock absorber effect. I very much agree with that statement by Balenciaga. I fully endorse that statement. These soles, they're so comfortable. They are on par with my Crocs. And if you watch enough of my content, if you know me, that is the highest compliment I can give a pair of sneakers. I have worn these for 8+ hours, a couple weeks now. Not once did I feel any pain. There is this cute detail that I like to point out on the sole. It's this little guy right here. I love the texture. I love that it just protrudes itself out, and I have caught myself touching this a little bit whenever I sit with my leg crossed. It's a fun detail to look at. I don't know how functional it is. Maybe it's like a design to keep you from like tilting left to right, something, or maybe it's to hold all the soles together because there are 3 soles stacked on top of one another. So I'm sure it's something. I'm sure there's a practical element to it, but aesthetically, it looks really good to me. It's a fun thing. And with fashion, with high fashion, I mean, nothing is done by accident. Everything kind of has a purpose. Everything was done because Balenciaga, every design choice, everything that the art department wants to do, they get passed down to every executive. So everybody has to okay it. But then again, Balenciaga did release this marketing campaign and thought they wouldn't cause any trouble. So I wouldn't put it past them actually. Maybe the executive just okayed it without looking. So, by the way, hot take. I don't think that ad was very controversial. I'm not going to go into it, but I don't think they're controversial. I've always been a big proponent of having the sole be as comfortable as possible. I don't care about the size, I don't care about the weight, as long as they make me comfortable, because I will stand in them for at least 6-7 hours a day, so I want them to be as comfortable as possible. Demna is one of the designers that really puts himself into the shoes of his consumer, because, I mean, look, his Georgian upbringing plays a major role in how practical he looks at fashion. Whatever he learned from school, his assistant, his years at Margiela, it's a combination of everything that Demna has experienced that made him to be this designer that really think about the consumer, because there are designers who simply design for the aesthetic's sake. Those designers, they forget that their form of art is wearable and not in a museum. Overall, great pair of sneakers, and on top of being comfortable, I genuinely think they're good looking. I never thought they were ugly from the beginning. I never did. I agree with Demna. These shoes are just chunky shoes. They were not part of the ugly trend. The ugly trend is this Gucci sneakers. But these Balenciaga, they're genuinely beautiful. And one thing I want to talk about, the outsoles, they're not as grippy as my Geo Basket. They're a bit slippery, slidey. Driving with these sneakers is a bit hard. It's easier to drive with my Kiss boot than with these Balenciaga Triple S because of the width of the sneakers. The space between the gas and the brake, it's not that big, and since the shoes are so wide, sometimes I get this feeling that I'm hitting both the brake and the gas, and you don't want to do that. You'll fuck up your car. I have to physically move my feet, whereas regularly I just move the front of my feet. I'm sure the B-roll is helping, but I hope you know what I mean. I'm sure most of you drive. And to talk about another point about them being too big, it's also very long. So when you climb the stair or go down the stair, they don't really fit onto all of the stairs, so you have to be a bit more careful of where you put emphasis on the weight. So like you don't want to place the emphasis on the edge, so then you might fall down. slower lifestyle. These Triple S encourages you to live a slower life. What I mean by that is the sneakers, they're very heavy. It's very bulky. You do have to change your walking pattern slightly. There's also a bit loose of the opening. I will talk about that more in the sizing. But all of these encourages you to walk a bit slower. If you walk too fast, it feels a bit awkward. So when you walk a bit slower, it feels natural. And then you also don't sense the weight. It's a bit hard to explain because I'm one of those people that's like constantly passing everybody whenever I walk. I'm always trying to hurry up to point B. Like, I've never enjoyed the journey. When I drive, I'm just thinking, okay, I cannot wait to get to my destination. And with these sneakers, when I walked on Newberry Street, it encouraged me to walk a bit slower. So I was able to notice my surrounding a bit more, enjoy the scenery, just, not live life from just living from point A to point B and enjoy the journey from point A to point B. I know this is getting too deep and getting a bit too douchey, but I am Sisyphus walking down the mountain. Why rush when you know what's coming tomorrow? I will enjoy my walk down the mountain because I refuse to let people that punish me to enjoy the punishment that they have imposed on me. I will make this task my task. I will relish in what I am doing and what I can do in this punishment in this situation. As you know, I got these sneakers secondhand. As you also know, these sneakers came with a pre-worn effect. And I will give the factory prop because I have a really hard time distinguishing between the dirt from the previous owner and the dirt from the factory. I have been a big fan of the pre-worn effect from day one. I like it because I have this bad habit. For the first 2 weeks or the first month of owning something, I baby the product. I'm very careful I don't get them dirty. But then one random day, I get them slightly dirty, whether it's a squirt of ketchup landing on the jacket or the shoes, and then I'm just like, fuck it, it's already dirty, might as well just dirty them up some more. So the fact that these come pre-dirty, it encourages me to just wear them how I would wear them after the babying phase. All right, so these shoes, I have a lot of colors on them, as you can see by the B-roll. You get light yellow, you get dark yellow, and you get green. I think the green complemented the yellow well, but I bought these shoes more so for the yellow than the green. You get a bit of beige, like 2 or 4 different shades of beige. You also get gray. Not a big fan of the gray. I would have much rather prefer another shade of beige. You get the white on the sole, you get a few bits of blacks on it. So I think it's a really well-made sneaker. The colors really complement each other well. They work great together, but if you were to take the color individually, they wouldn't look that good. I only recognize 3 colorways of the Balenciaga, the 3 on the screen right now. So if you watch my previous video, you would know that the sneakers I got is my second choice. My first choice is the one flashing, and then my third choice is the one flashing right now. I mean, okay, look, the Lego colorway, it's really good, but let's talk about the sneakers we do have today. I think the green and the yellow, they expertly placed them on the sneaker. I think these 2 colorway only work on this particular model. If you take these 2 colors and put it on the Stan Smith or put it on the Gucci, I don't think it would have worked. It has to be this chunky. It has to be this exaggerated in its proportion. Different shapes. So these sneakers, there are so many shapes on there. You look at this shape, that shape, this shape, that shape, this shape, that shape. But my Geo Basket is a bit more fluid. The shape, they don't really stand out. There's only a few bits and pieces. But with these sneakers, there's like this kaleidoscope effect. When you combine this shape and that shape, when you squint your eye, you see this shape and that shape creating another shape. It's a bit overwhelming on a pair of sneakers, but for some reason, I think it works here, and it's rare for me to say that because I consider myself to be a bit more on the minimalist side. I'm not to the point where I place an arbitrary embargo on myself if it doesn't go well with my aesthetic. Think people that wear only black and white. Think Yoji people. There's good and bad to it. The good, they know what they like, they know what they want. The bad part is, if they were to like something outside of their aesthetic, they wouldn't get it because they won't open their mind up enough to get the product that is outside of their aesthetic or outside of their arbitrary embargo. Everybody that has reviewed these sneakers, they talk about the weight. So these weigh roughly 1,790 grams or 3.9 pounds. My Geo Basket weigh about 3.44 pounds. And my Kiss boots, they weigh about 4.9 pounds. So these Balenciaga are my second heaviest footwear in my collection. I am not bothered by the weight at all. If you are coming from Nike or Adidas, you will, but I am coming from owning all these big chunky footwear already, so you will feel a weight a little bit, but similar to like changing iPhone. When you switch from a small iPhone to a big iPhone, the first 2 weeks gonna be like, oh my God, how am I gonna use it? But then after 2 weeks, gonna be like, when are they gonna make a bigger iPhone? This thing is tiny, the screen is so small. Because with these sneakers, you don't notice it when you wear it, and you don't notice it after you wear it either. The weight is really not a problem to me. If you own a Kiss boots, I mean, I don't think most of you own Kiss boots, but if you own any chunky sneakers, they're not that far off. I did do a little test of the B-roll you're watching right now. I wore the Triple S on one foot and another footwear on the other foot. During that testing, you can really sense how soft the soles are compared to my Geo Basket. You sense the stacking of the sole when one with the Stan Smith, so the height of it, and you also sense the comfortness when one with the Kiss boots. If you don't have a point of reference, you don't really sense or feel the weight, but when you wear one foot with these Triple S, one foot with the Kiss boot, you really sense how uncomfortable the Kiss boots are. Afterwear pain. With some sneakers, some footwear I mean, they give you this afterwear pain. For example, my tabby. After I wear a tabby, my feet are in pain after. And with Birkenstock too, my regular Birkenstock, sometimes there's slight pain in it. And these sneakers, they're so good. My wants and needs to get a second pair is growing by the minute. I saw it for a great deal, the Essence exclusive colorway, so I might get it. It's on grail right now for like $230. If I could convince the seller to sell it from like $170, $180, I might get a second pair. That's how much I love these sneakers. There's no afterwear pain. It's so good. These sneakers are so good. I believe I can make these sneakers my everyday sneakers. Chunky sneakers. So, the trend has gone by already. It started in 2017 with the Triple S, and then I like to say it died in 2019 because everybody participated in the trend. I've always loved chunky sneakers because it goes really well with my wardrobe. I have a lot of wide-legged trousers, and chunky sneakers are just more comfortable than slim footwear, because with the slim footwear you have less material to put on there, and just I prefer comfortable footwear. My feet are very sensitive. I have flat feet, I have wide feet, so I have a lot of problem with footwear. So the more material I get, the more comfortable they are. So I've always loved chunky sneakers. Made in China versus made in Italy. This was a big controversy. I think we put too much emphasis on the origin of our product and not enough on the material. Okay, I'm not going to defend Balenciaga. Obviously, they moved the factory to China for profit's sake. I think we can all agree on that. However, the material, it's so common. It's just polyester and polyurethane. They feel like every other running sneakers, and most running sneakers that are made by Nike, Adidas, New Balance, whatever other brand, Reebok, they're all made in China. So the material, okay, look at it this way. Would you rather have a full grain lambskin leather bag made in China, or would you rather have a genuine leather made in Italy? Do you see how the material sometimes outweighs the origin? The origin of your product is mainly the assembly and quality control, right? Because look, we don't give flag to Apple because their products are made in China, but we know that Apple provides certain guidelines to these factories that they have to meet a certain standard. I'm sure Balenciaga does the same. The made in Italy, it's a thing in the past. Maybe it was relevant back in the 80s and 90s when China was not as developed. But China is a very rich now, in the main city. Overall, as a country, it's still very poor. But as far as factory, they have improved a lot. It's not what we used to think. And made in Italy, it's a marketing tactic. We don't give Apple, we don't say that Apple products are not as well made because they're made in China. Why do we say that about clothes? I think we should care more about the material more so than the place of the assembly of the product. Sizing, it's a bit complicated. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. I am a natural 43. I got these in a 43. Everything fits great. My toes go up to here. I am not a masochist. I enjoy some breathing room in my sneakers. The shoes, they're heavily padded. It feels very cozy. I like it a lot. The material is soft. It's not as stiff or thick as leather. They mold to your feet. Everything fits great except for the hole opening. It's so big. I have to tie the laces super tight to keep my feet in there. If they're a bit loose, my feet will constantly try to escape, as I'm sure you're looking at the video right now. But since the hole is so big, they're constantly trying to get out. So you really have to tie the laces super tight to wear these. Tight enough to the point where it's hard to take the shoes off. You kind of have to unlace the shoes to take your shoes off and to definitely put it back on. One thing I forgot to mention is that I have put 2 insoles in here because the Balenciaga insole, they're garbage. So I put the Doc Marten on top of it and they still fit me great. The thing that is complicated with these sneakers, they don't release them in half size. And I would never recommend you to go 1 full size down. So if you, okay, I don't think I can recommend a size for you. So, okay, these shoes are very popular. They're most likely at your local mall. So go in there, try them out. But if you are ordering it online, make sure it's not on final sale. Make sure you can return them. Get them your true size. Just know that you will have to tie the laces super tight to really keep them in place because the hole opening is so large. On Balenciaga website, it says there are calfskin and lambskin on the sneakers. I know for sure that the black bits are leather. I struggle a bit with the beige because they don't feel leathery, but they don't feel leathery. So if they are talking about it, maybe that is the leather, but it feels a bit like polyester and polyurethane mix. I don't know. It could be leather. Let's give it to them. Let's say the beige part is leather and the black part is leather. They don't feel high quality. The leather does not feel high quality. It does not feel full grain. At most, it feels like top grain. At worst, it's genuine leather. I think Balenciaga was trying to squeeze out as much money as possible on these sneakers because they knew the trend was gonna die soon. The leather, it feels very thin. It feels hollow. You know, think a gold-plated brass jewelry. If for a consumer who don't know, they see the gold color, they just think, oh, it must be gold, but it's gold plated. So it just, the exterior looks good. But when you break it down to the inside, it's brass. The cotton and polyester padding underneath, it makes it feel as though the leather is like really thick in there, but it's not. It's very thin. I think at best it's top grain. If it were to be full grain, I think they would brag about it. Similar to how brands always brag about made in Italy, but then when it comes to made in China, they say imported instead. The current model, if you were to get these Triple S in 2023, the current model is leather free. So it's fake leather now or faux leather. I think, you know, it's probably for good press and it's also for probably profit because fake leather is not as expensive. Yeah, so you get a bit of calf leather and lambskin leather, I guess, on the beige part, and the rest of the material, it's 48% polyurethane and 52% polyester with either polyester padding or cotton padding. I am a big fan of these material because they're very soft, they're very comfortable, provides a lot of support. I am not a fan of these material with regard to durability because we have all owned running sneakers. The cuts and hole that I've been showing on the screen, I don't envision these sneakers to last as long as my Geo basket because on the Geo basket, that bitch is full grain calf leather. That thing is durable. In an effort to keep my videos shorter than 30 or 45 minutes, I will simply show you what I wrote while wearing these for a week straight. If any of these points are not too clear, just comment down below, I'll clarify them. And it's also a bit chaotic and a bit repetitive because I wrote all of them down one by one as the thought was coming in. My overall opinion though, I love these Triple S. They feel great. To fulfill one of my old dreams, it feels good. I thought it would feel slightly less than the Geo basket because that was the first one, but it still feels as magical on the second try. Maybe the magic will lose itself on the third try if I were to get something else from my past dream, whatever, you know. But so far, okay, I hate to say it, but I like these Triple S more than my Geo basket because they're a lot more comfortable than the Geo basket. The soles are better on these. I like the look better for now. Okay, for now, at this very moment, if you were to tell me MAKASY, you can only keep one, I would have to say I would keep the Triple S over the Geo basket. And I know it's like a rose colored glass that I'm wearing, so I'm only noticing the good parts of the Balenciaga, but maybe, okay, in the near future, I will make a comparison with my Geo basket. I will try to see, I will put my pen down, write it, so then I can point out whether this one is better here, that one is better there, stuff like that. I'll make a comparison video. These shoes are two of the high fashion shoes that were able or have been able to penetrate the general public, that when you do wear them out in public, people know because The GeoBasket penetrated the sneakerheads, and there are a lot of sneakerheads in the world. The Triple S, when they first came out, they caused a lot of controversy. Everybody was talking about it. The regular news were talking about it. Casey Neistat. But yeah, I'm not going to repeat everything I say. I don't want to do my usual outro where I just recap everything. So please just scroll back, skim back to whatever you missed, whatever you forgot. My name is MAKASY. I will talk to you next week. Bye, Alex.